Today on Forbes India W Power, L'Oreal Paris Women of Worth, we have a trailblazer in Indian finance, Radhika Gupta, who unfolds her journey of resilience, self-worth and success. A story of rising strong and leading with confidence.
Giving my best to every opportunity that came my way. So I've always had a mix of opportunities. Now you can argue some were better than others, some were worse than others, but whatever came to me, just maxing it out as much as I could, which is still a core philosophy today. So whatever came your way, make the most of it. In the very early days of Edelweiss Mutual Fund, building out an AMC business from scratch in the early days is very, very tough because brand recognition takes time in financial services. So I think there were a lot of questions in those days about why am I here? Am I doing the right thing? There's so much rejection. People don't want to join you. People don't want to meet you. And at some level, I think just putting your head down and not thinking too long and just making sure you get through a series of short terms and then gradually finding success helped me tide through that period. Open-mindedness, the ability to constantly reinvent yourself. Since you said decades, I hope that the person I am in this decade is almost unrecognizable to the person I was in the previous decade. There's a core sense of values that remains the same, but I hope I've evolved as a person. And I really think, man or woman, you're going to have careers that you couldn't even imagine when you finished your education. So having a certain amount of agility, adaptability, not losing that desire to learn, get better is so crucial in building a career or a business now. There's an interesting one, I think, in the last chapter about, since you guys are from media, about a journalist. And my very first print interview, it wasn't a very pleasant conversation, but him essentially telling me that you have no hope in this industry because you're new and you're X, Y, Z, and feeling very low about that whole thing, to how the same individual came back to me many years and later and said, no, your whole thing about being new was actually an asset, not a liability. So I think it's an example of, the journey is difficult, but if you take it, people will take even what are your so-called liabilities and baggage and say, they made you what you are. And I think it's always worth it.